Can you hear me? Can we hear me? All right. Can you hear me? Can you hear us? Can you hear us? We are showing us live. Can you guys hear us? Game discussion. Come on, game discussion. Talk to us. We know you're out there, BB.
Hello, game discussion.
Can you hear us? Whoever's listening.
George
Ewell, I know you're out there. All right, I can hear y'all, and it looks like we're streaming through really well, so I'm going to say they can hear us. All right, so with that being said, welcome everybody to tonight's edition of MLR Tonight. Today is Friday, March 16th, the year 2018. Here we are on the eve of Session 8 in Major League Red Ball, and we've got a nice panel here tonight in Studio 39. Joining us tonight will be the general manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, Madis. Madis, how are you tonight?
Pretty good. You?
I'm doing great, thank you. And also here tonight is starting pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals and former Montreal GM, Jameson Poe. Jameson, how are you tonight?
Not bad. How you doing, Kyle?
Good, very good. We've got a lot to dive into tonight. Even though there's only one live game at the moment, we've still got a lot to dive into. We're going to talk All-Star games tonight. We're going to be previewing Session 8. We've got a lot of interesting trade news to talk about. But first, let's dive into the big development out of last week's episode when we talked about the whole alts and the bans. The big consequence of that was the replaying of Oakland and Texas, and we had quite the game that actually wrapped up last night. Let's go live and let's see what actually happened. Sal Shark got the start for the Oakland A's once more in the restarts. He'd have to face now Super Bowl and Three Finger, now starting his 7th consecutive game for the Texas Rangers because of the replay. And he definitely got lit up right from the get-go. Top of the first, Kid Notcher hit a double out towards center field. That would bring in Art Z, scoring the first run of the game. Oakland went up 1-0 later in the inning. Bodie McBoatface was up to bat. He'll hit a double again out towards center field. Looks like Dixie Rector was not having a good day defensively. Notcher will come across the plate and score. Max Watson will follow him. He got on with a walk. Oakland now leads 3-0. Three Fingers, the A would continue to be bad. Top fourth, Justin Dingers. He did a single out towards right field. That bring in Blue Moon Bartholomew. 4-0 Oakland A's. That would be all the runs of this game, as Sal Shark was fairly dominant on the mound all day. 10 strikeouts. Got close to tying the record, but just no cigar for him today. 2 hits, 2 walks, and now down to a 2.65 runs per 6 after throwing a complete game shutout. Oakland gets the win 4-0, out hitting the Rangers 8-2. Sal Shark wins player of the game with this complete game shutout. 6 innings pitched, no runs, 2 hits, and 10 strikeouts. What do y'all think of the game we saw out at Globe Life Park this weekend?
I think it was one of the quickest games I've seen in a really long time. And that was probably thanks to you and Pops doing an awesome job umping it.
Well, thank you.
Pitching was awesome. Sal Shark has continued to be on a roll. There might be some announcements later about all-star teams, just based on how good he's been doing. I won't share anything just yet. And Kid Notcher is also doing really well recently.
You know, it was very surprising how quickly everybody, made their efforts known in that game. And for Sal Shark to bounce back like that was extremely impressive. 10 strikeouts in 6 innings. That's nothing to discount.
Let me ask your opinion on this, since we're not going to talk a whole lot about Texas tonight. Super Bowl and Three Finger, obviously he took a rough loss here, having to replay this game and step in a tough situation if you're the Rangers. He's now got to go back, and tomorrow he's got to step right back up and play another game in Montreal. What do you think should be the mindset going into Montreal for him? What should he be going through his mind considering the situation he's been put into?
Forget last game. Forget both of them, technically. Just don't even think about it. You got to go forward. Can't think about the past.
As a pitcher who's been a rock for that team, I don't think it's going to affect him too much. I really think that he's just going to continue business as usual and just keep moving forward.
All right, well, let's hop over to our other game that is still going, ladies and gentlemen. Rockies and Dodgers still going out here in Dodger Stadium in L.A. This one has, as we've been recapping all week, this one has been all offense everywhere from the Rockies side. Got started in the top of the second when Jack Alpha hit a home run out to deep right field. That scored Jablomi, Dick, and Alpha. 3-0 Rockies. Later in the inning, Josh Roth got an RBI single that scored Ronnie Voss, making it 4-0. Later in the inning, Rusty Kuntz grinds into a double play that scores Gottlieb Giannopoulos. 5-0 Rockies. The runs would just keep pouring on in the third. A double by Ronnie Voss that scores Jablomi. 6-0. Later in the inning, Gottlieb Giannopoulos goes yard out to deep center field. 3-run homer, his first of the year, scores us 9-0 Rockies. There was a little bit of a comeback run by the Dodgers in the bottom of the fourth when Billy Cutgrass got an RBI triple that scored Valentino Sanchez 9-1, and then later in the inning, Ted James III gets a single that scores Cutgrass. So 2 runs out of that bottom of the fourth. Not much would happen after that. A couple of home runs by the Rockies with Jabalomi and Jumbo. 12-3 is the current score with bottom of the sixth, 1 out. Richard Furr is up to bat at the moment. What do you guys think about this game and just the offensive showing from the Rockies? We have not seen this out of Colorado all year. What do you guys think about it?
It's a surprise because Colorado has, as of this point, not been the greatest team. They're currently 2-4. I guess they're probably going to be 3-4 after this. So that's not the best. And the fact that their offense has suddenly stepped up. You said they had like 10 runs, I believe?
They have 12 runs at the moment.
They've scored 15 runs total before this game.
Wow.
I'll leave it at that.
And to be doing it against the Dodgers, who I personally thought was going to be one of the better teams, or is one of the better teams in the NL, is definitely surprising to me. But looking at my numbers here for when I was looking at the stats for the All-Star game coming up, they have a lot of guys capable of doing some damage. So maybe it was a matter of time for them to finally break out.
Alrighty, let's just quickly recap. Again, Oakland defeats Texas 4-0. In Colorado, bottom 6, 1 out. They are up in the Dodgers 12-3, and there seems to be no signs that Richard Furr or Quinn Molak, all respect to those guys, are going to come back and lead the rally. It appears Colorado will move to 3-4 in the year, and Dodgers will fall to 3-4. Any final thoughts on Session 7 altogether? We saw some great things that we haven't gotten to address here yet. Tim Burr almost getting a no-hitter, coming so close. Baltimore almost coming back and topping the Blue Jays, but they got halted. Blue Jays won that 8-4. Any final remarks or comments as we close the books on Session 7 from either of you?
It was an interesting session. I was quite happy with it. Quite a few interesting games. It was one of the more heated sessions we've had recently, I'd say. The Toronto-Baltimore game was an intense one for the AL standings, but it went well for Toronto, I'd like to say.
Yeah, I think everything kind of kept moving pretty well. We didn't really have any horribly laggy games, aside from the one that we're still waiting on. But I can talk about the Cardinals and the Pirates, which was a kind of a battle for first place out there. So that was a big game for us, and it was hairy in the beginning there, but luckily we kind of pulled that one through. Other than that, really, I think things look about as good as they're going to go here. Let's see, any other interesting games? Boston going 12-5 over the Devil Rays was a bit of a surprise, making a statement there.
I was quite surprised, actually, like you said, about Boston topping the Devil Rays, because I figured I was going to have to, the Toronto Blue Jays were going to have to chase the Devil Rays. I was a game behind, but you really helped out there. Thanks, Boston.
You're welcome. And we're definitely going to talk a lot about the Red Sox a little later when we get to their game against Detroit when we preview Session 8. They've got an interesting lineup, and it looks like they're going to be sending a lot of their main guys down the eco for a session as they prepare to face Texas in Session 9. They're making a lot of bold moves, Jordan Peppers, and he's definitely proving himself to be one of the better GMs in the league very fast. All right, that will do it for Session 7, so let's look and start transitioning towards Session 8 with a few transaction news and notes. We'll start with some big trades, and probably the biggest of those came out yesterday afternoon. We found out that Tampa Bay, obviously, they are still suffering from the loss of Dougie McElroy to retirement. Witt made some very bold statements talking about how he's going to definitely find a replacement, and he did, all right. He made a trade with the Astros and went out and got Willoughby Hoos, probably the Astros' #1 pitcher. We talked last week on the show when we were doing buy or sell, talking about do we want to buy that Astros rotation with Hoos at the helm. that's a totally different story now because Hoos is on his way to the Devil Rays. He and Dogman are heading to the Devil Rays in exchange for Peter Peckershine, who is arguably the most underrated player in the league, hitting 625 with just 3 games under his belt. And Methuselah Saltalamakia also will head out to the Astros. Before we talk about the other trades, what do y'all think about this blockbuster here heading into Session 8?
It really changes the game. There was also one condition on that trade, is if Dougie unretires, Hoos returns to Houston. So I thought it was a good trade. Peter Peckershine has been hitting well. Seeing him up close and personal from the team that's trying to chase the Devil Rays, every time he gets a hit, I'm like, oh, that's another one. And I'm not sure if Saltalamakia has played very much yet, but I feel like it's a good pickup by Houston. They picked up a bunch of guys. I know they're active in their team discords for a really good pitcher, though. So I think this is a bold move by Tampa Bay, and they've shown the commitment to shaking it up and staying number one.
On the surface here, I think it's a pretty even-looking trade. I think going forward, I think Tampa Bay got the better end of this deal. I mean, Hoos has been a rock in that rotation for a long time, so adding a guy of that caliber can't be discounted. That's not to say that Peter Peckershine is not going to be a big impact in Houston either. Yeah, what was it, maybe one session ago where he pretty much wrecked a whole game by himself?
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are a couple other trades out in the session. Mainly, Houston was out here making a whole lot of moves. Not only did they acquire Peckershine and Saltalamakia, they also dealt out Bajingo and Anderson to bring in a pretty active player in Kevin Ariana. Ariana was a staple in that Brewers team, but he started to struggle a bit, so Brewers shipped him out to Houston, where he's going to get probably a lot more playing time. They also went out and got Shiny Tenson from the Minnesota Twins in exchange for some future considerations. And one other major trade this session was Trey Paste, former Devil Ray, and then ended up in the Indians. He's heading out to Oakland next session. Oakland finally making a transaction. That's kind of shocking. Cleveland will get future considerations. And also Baltimore acquires pitcher Charlie Yeager from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Any of those trades stand out to you? Madis, I'll start with you on that one. Any of them stand out?
I think Baltimore acquiring Charlie Yeager was an important move because their rotation has been good. Raw Pancakes and Chipper Dipper have been one of the better rotations in the AL, but they could always use some help. And I don't know if you guys remember, but back in season 1, Raw Pancakes was a tire fire. He had the worst ERA in the league. He walked everyone. He struck out a few people, but he was just not good. But right this session, he seems to have found it, but I think it's always good to get some help. Chipper Dipper is also a great pitcher, but it's good to get 3 pitchers, I'd say, in your rotation.
Definitely. What say you, Jameson?
I think the big move there. I think the big move there was Kevin Ariana. I think he's a game changer. I was very surprised to hear that he was dealt off. I think that Houston picking him up is going to be a real solid get for them. He's always around the Discord, always making some kind of noise, which is great in a game like this. So I think he's going to be the X factor there.
Alrighty, let's transition now, and let's not talk about some guys moved around. Let's talk about some guys signed to some deals. We had 14 free agent signings, 14 new players joined the league during Session 7, and most of which probably will have a chance to make their MLR debuts during Session 8. Madis, let me start with you. Out of this list of 14, for those of you, let me just read them off real quick. Cleveland signed Eddie Collins. The Cardinals got Cody Omega. San Francisco gets Ambiorix Matt Havapetty. Baltimore gets Sherby Fully Loaded and Nicholas Romero. Tampa Bay gets Babatunde Alatadon. Montreal gets Patrick O'Sullivan. Cleveland gets Joe Runzer. Montreal gets Buttholo Cologne. Minnesota gets Ricky Steele, now as a closer. Tampa Bay gets Storm Johnson. San Diego gets Caleb Athan. Arizona gets Thomas Chiggins. Montreal gets Nate Lewis. Out of those 14 signings, Mattis, which one do you think will be the most important, and who do you think will have the most success with their new team?
For the most important signing, I'm going to have to go with Ricky Steele. He signed to close for Minnesota after their closer had to retire, unfortunately. It was a shame. I know real life got really important for them. So Ricky Steele is coming A, to fill a hole, and B, he's a proven commodity. Season 1, he lit it up. Well hitting, he's still super active. He's always on Discord. He's always doing something. You can always talk to him, ask for help. He's just a good guy. So I think he's one of the most important signings there. And the opportunity to have the most impact would have to be one of the two, either Nicholas Romero or Sherby fully loaded for Baltimore. They have a lot of free space in their MLR lineup that they can fit new guys in. So I think those two are probably going to make their MLR debuts sooner than most people would expect. Actually, I think they're not even going to go to Eco. I think they're probably just going to start this game. I bet you one of those two are going to start this game and make a big impact for Baltimore.
Jameson, what say you?
I'm going to agree with Madis about Ricky Steele. I think that's a huge pickup. I remember him back in Pittsburgh. He was a very big contributor, and having him back is going to be huge for Minnesota, especially in that closer role. In terms of immediate impact, I think Cologne is going to have a real big impact in Montreal as a pitcher. I kind of peeked in on Eco for a little bit and saw that he was doing really well down there, and I could tell you that Cody Omega is going to make an impact for us in St. Louis pretty quickly also. So I look for big things out of both of those guys.
Let me jump in here as well, because I want to offer my opinion. There's two guys that we haven't talked about that immediately jump out to me as they're going to help their teams immediately. One of which you probably don't think will be much help, but this team actually needs depth there. Storm Johnson for Tampa Bay. We talked last week on the show about the Tampa Bay infield and how they're kind of, if there is such a thing as a weak link on that Double A's roster, it's the infield, especially with now the loss of Freudenberger. They only have 5 players, and now they're having to force Lawrence Wiseman, who has okay stats, into a much bigger role at the shortstop position. But getting depth there with a guy like Storm Johnson, who I believe is in the lineup this game for the Double Rays, will be able to help them to solidify things and maybe, hopefully, find a everyday shortstop for the future. If they can bring in Johnson to play every day alongside, Reynolds at third, De Los Rosas at second, and Trapper at first, they've got a solid 4 guys in the infield, and then you have Wiseman and I can't think of the other guy right now to add depth to that infield. They've got 6 strong guys at that point that can really start to rake and really bring Tampa Bay closer and closer to winning that division and making the playoffs. The other guy that's going to have an impact is York's Matt Avapeti. I believe he's actually going to get the start this game, which is interesting to see how Jonathan Park's going to do that with Peters, who's making a case for the All-Star game at the moment. But with Matt Avapeti, that gets them pitching depth. They don't have that anymore. Lost to Schmeckel and a few other guys that have come and gone out of that team. So giving Peters some relief help, whether it's an off start, having Matt Avapeti pitch 6, or just 2 innings out of the bullpen each game, getting Peters some relief is going to be a major help for the Giants in their push. I know they're 5-2, mainly relying on Peters, but having someone else there to lift some of that burden off of Peters is definitely going to help in San Francisco. All right. Moving forward, let's talk about some sad endings to careers. We had 4 major players retire this session. Bo Kinsella for the Washington Nationals called it a career, hitting .400 this year with a home run and 2 RBIs. Pitcher for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, Dougie McElroy, 19 innings pitched, 2.53 ERA, and 11 strikeouts. Johnny Dickshot, his career is come to a close for Pittsburgh, 13 2/3 innings pitched, 4.39 ERA, and 13 strikeouts. An outfielder for the Indians, Connor Carter, is done, 143 batting average and 1 RBI. Any final thoughts on these 4 players, Madis? Any happy trails, any parting words for these guys?
Well, I'm going to miss them, especially Dougie and Johnny Dickshot, because I got to know them both pretty well throughout the sessions, and just getting to know them. They were always good Discord presences. They were always on, so they'll be missed by the community.
I agree. I mean, having Dougie and Johnny, head out like that, that's kind of rough, especially since I remember Johnny way back when from, the original draft. It's always sad to see a guy go, and those guys being such big presences are definitely going to leave a hole where they're, and Bo Kinsella is no slouch either to be gone from Washington. So that's going to be a big hole for them to fill as well.
Alrighty, and we wish all 4 of you, if you're listening, Kinsella, McElroy, Dickshot, or Carter, we wish you the best of luck in wherever your life takes you. All right, now time for something really fun that we're really excited to bring to you. Our guys here, Madison, Poe spent a lot of time this afternoon preparing this for you, so I hope you enjoy it. They have prepared some All-Star predictions for you and what they believe that the All-Star teams should look like in their opinions this year. Madis has prepared for you what he believes the AL team will look like, and Jameson has prepared what the NL team should look like. So, Madis, we're going to start with you. Madis has for you 3 pitchers and then a player at each position for your liking. So, Madis, you have the floor. Take it away. What should the AL All-Star team look like?
Well, I'd like to start with, this was really hard. There was a lot of really good batters, but I'm going to start with catchers. I think catchers is one of the most obvious categories. Barney Summers for Texas. He is almost a sure lock for MVP right now, just the way he's hitting. He is currently hitting .733 with an on-base percentage of .750. He has the highest batting average in the league. There is no way anybody can top that. Well, maybe people can top it, but for right now, he's a lock for the All-Star game at catcher. It was also really hard to pick some of these guys because they might not be the most active on the field, but they might not be active in the Discord, but they're super good hitters. So then for first baseman, I have Dakota Carolina Montana from Houston. Again, another guy super high up on the charts there. He's second in batting average behind only Barney Summers. So he's a sure lock for first baseman. He's currently hitting .714, and that's pretty good. He has 10 hits, so he's, again, 1 hit behind Barney Summers for the league of hits, and that's first baseman. So second baseman, I've got role-playing grandma from my personal Toronto Blue Jays. He last season did awesomely. This season is continuing to do awesomely. He is currently hitting .556 with 1 homer, 10 hits, and 5 doubles. He is lighting the league up from the second base standpoint. And while there were many good choices, like Nicky Falk, who's another one, second choice for there, but it's going to have to be role-playing grandma with that one. For third base, Grim Carp from the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. I think he is one of the best hitters on Tampa Bay right now. And that's hard to be when you're in a clubhouse of super active and talented people who are hitting so well. But I feel like Grim Carp really has that. For shortstop, we've got Kid Notcher from Oakland. So he came up a little bit earlier, actually, when we were talking about that Oakland game. He's been hitting insanely well recently. He has one of the higher batting averages in the league. He has the highest one on Oakland by at least around 200 points, I'm going to say. Besides, his batting average currently is 500. The next closest person on Oakland is 333, which would be Bodie McBodieface, who is a hard choice. But I say Kid Notcher has that one in the bag. So for left fielders, Morris D-Rat from the Detroit Tigers. He is he's not always the most active, but he always gets his swings in on times, and he's hitting really well. So I think he should really go to the All-Star game. For right fielder, Rex Kadobe from Seattle. I personally had never heard of him before looking deeper, but I went and I looked through, and he is hitting he is hitting insanely well. Let me just pull that up. He is currently hitting .529 with 17 at-bats, 9 hits, 6 runs, 3 RBIs, and a couple walks. For center fielders, I have our very own Kyle Corbett here, who is the clear lock from Boston. He's hitting very well on the season. Not many other people in Boston are, but, he is. So, and I'd say he's one of the main forces behind Boston's success this season. And kind of came out of nowhere, too, I'd say. And then, so that's my starting lineup, which consists of just a quick run through: Barney Summers, Dakota Carolina Montana, Grim Carp, Kid Notcher, Morris D-Rat, Rex Kadobe, and Kyle Corbett. And then on to the pitching rotation. So for the pitching rotation, we've got Tim Burr from Minnesota being our starting pitcher. He is by far the best pitcher in the AL right now. And he's been one of the most consistent. 21.33 innings pitched. He has an ERA of 1.13. He's only surrendered 4 earned runs in 21 innings pitched, and is one of the main reasons that Minnesota is a 5-2 team. And then next, I have Chipper Dipper from Baltimore. He is, like I talked about earlier, one of the main rocks on Baltimore's roster. He is hitting around 2.21, I think. Or not hitting, but his ERA is around 2.21 and one of the best in the league yet again. And if he can keep that up, Baltimore is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and that's why he should be in the All-Star game. And my final pitcher, I had to give a little bit of hometown love. Ryan Gastings from Toronto. Some people know him a little bit better as Veins. He is personal favorite of mine, but he's not just in there because he's my pitcher. In 16 innings pitched, he has a 2.20 ERA and a 1.10 whip. He is consistently one of the best pitchers. He's always gets things on time, and I think he should make the All-Star game. Now, I don't really have much control of the actual ALR All-Star game, but I feel like that is what it should look like.
All right. Good job, Madis. I might just have a couple questions here. I'll go ahead and put you on the spot with this. One of the more interesting snubs, in my opinion, that I think you left out, and I think a lot of people may be questioning this one. No baseball-y on your outfield. Let me just, before I get any questionable questions, let me just ask you, what behooved you to go with guys like Kadobi out in right field and Durant in left over a guy like McBaseballface?
Well, I wanted to look at people who, A, had a lot of plate appearances. McBaseballface has 17, which is quite good, and he is hitting 500, so he would be a close second or third. He might make it, but I want to have one person from every single team, and especially the ones who aren't talked about as much, because McBaseballface is quite a well-known outfielder, whereas people like Rex Kadobi, people never heard of before. Or Morris Dirac. How many people have heard of them before this? Not many, but their stats speak for themselves. And they are playing better than McBaseballface with almost more at-bats.
You brought up an interesting point, saying that they are playing better. So when I asked this question, I've been asking this question on most podcasts I've been on over the last couple weeks, and I don't mean to toot my own horn when I say this, but looking back to Session 3, I know we don't like to give Lindros any attention, but he made a trade sending myself and Jay Money and Gregory Polinko and Wade Wilson to Boston, and he sent to Tampa McBaseballface and DeMondre Bradford. Looking back, do you think Tampa still won the trade?
I would say he did, sadly. I hate to have to say that he won anything.
Lindros, you're saying?
Lindros won the trade.
All right.
I hate having to say that, but yeah, he did, unfortunately.
Jameson, do you have any questions for Madis before we jump over to the NL side?
No, I think you're pretty spot on with your picks there. I like you said, the baseball-y, not having baseball on was a little bit of a surprise, but everything you said is pretty well reasoned, so I can't have any argument with anything you said there.
All right, Jameson, you're up. Let's dig into the National League. What
another reason.
All right. Well, I also did the a bench on mine, but I'll start just like Madis. I'll start with catchers, and for catchers, I have Peekov Andropov from San Francisco. He's batting .438 with a .500 on base percentage and .938 slugging with 3 doubles, 1 triple, 1 home run, and 3 RBIs. And a close second would have been Garrett Doctor from Pittsburgh. Let's see. At first base, I have Forehead Jones from San Diego, batting .500 with 4 home runs and 6 RBIs. Looking at the options there, that was a very close choice between him and Emir Bach, also from Pittsburgh. On second base, I have Trey Rangers from Montreal, batting .467, 3 doubles on the year. That was a pretty wide race there with how many people were eligible, but I feel like Rangers edged them out. For third base, there's Sanchez from the Dodgers. V. Sanchez from the Dodgers, batting .500 on-base percentage of 533, and a slugging percentage of 1,500. He ran away with that position right there with 2 doubles, 4 home runs, and 10 RBIs. There's no way you can even argue with any of that. For sure, I have Lance Lumix from Pittsburgh, batting .455 with 4 doubles, 1 triple, 2 home runs, and 11 RBIs. Also pretty much a runaway with that position. In left field from Milwaukee, I have Chocolate Smegma, who's batting he's batting .462 with a .467 on-base percentage. In center field, I have Scotty Smalls from the Dodgers, batting .615 with a 1.077 slugging percentage. That with 2 home runs and 3 RBIs on the year. In right field, from the Giants, I have Kentho Byrne, batting .467 with a double, a homer, and 2 RBIs on the year. And DHing from Washington, I have Henrik Omega, batting .500 with a 1.167 slugging percentage. His line being 1 double, 1 triple, 1 home run with 4 RBIs. For my bench from the St. Louis Cardinals, I have Logan Ninefingers, center field, batting .500 with 2 doubles, a homer, and 3 RBIs on the year. And the interesting thing about Ninefingers is that he was the last pick in the expansion draft. Now he's going to be heading. I feel that he should be heading to the All-Star game. Also on the bench, I had Dom Stakes from Arizona at shortstop. That's batting .389 with 2 doubles, 2 homers, and 2 RBIs. Then we have Haywood Jablomi from Colorado in right field, batting .357 with a .438 on base percentage, 2 doubles, 1 homer, and 4 RBIs. And making it onto the bench was Emmer Bach from Pittsburgh. I spoke about him earlier at first base, batting .500 with a .500 on base percentage and a .786 slugging with 1 double, 1 homer, and 4 RBIs. And as far as my pitching staff goes, I really didn't get very outlandish here. Leading off would be Dan Girzone from Milwaukee with a 1.86 ERA, a 1.07 WHIP with 29 innings pitched. I mean, people can say what they want about his performance against the Dodgers, but you can't deny that he's been a rock all year. Second, I have Darth Vader from Pittsburgh with 1.33 ERA, 1.07 WHIP, 6 strikeouts per game. Also pitched 27 innings, so another guy who's just basically been the man in his rotation. And rounding out, I have Andrew Peters from San Francisco with a 2.47 ERA, just over 1, and almost 6 strikeouts per game, also with 26.6 innings pitched.
Alrighty. One quick question for you then. Probably the name that obviously we knew that there are pretty much 4 horses and only 3 of them were going to get in for that NL pitching spot. And the one that obviously missed your cut was Washington's Hudson Hildebrandt. What is it about Hildebrandt that was just lacking, in your opinion, compared to the other 3?
I have it written here. I have 2 honorable mentions. One of them is Hudson Hildebrandt. The other is Owen Orridge from Philadelphia. The reason that I went with the other 3 over them was just sheer amount of innings pitched. I mean, Hudson Hildebrandt only has about 13.3 innings, and Owen has 17.3. I couldn't, in good conscience, go with them over the 3 that have pitched so many innings.
All right, let me ask you one more question. I know this is going to be a long shot of a question, but there's another hitter out there. I know it takes 12 plate appearances to qualify, but there's another hitter who's been moved to the top, near the top of the Arizona order. If he starts the next 2 games up there in the top, he has a very good shot of getting to 12 plate appearances. And if he keeps up his hitting streak, he could very well steal that first base spot from either Bach on the bench or potentially the starting spot from Mr. Forehead Jones, and that's Charles Moore of Arizona. We've talked about him a lot on the podcast. 4 for 5 with a walk as well, mixed in through 6 plate appearances. Near the top, he just gets 3 in, and he's eligible to be on the bench, hitting .800 so far to open up his career. That's Barney Summers-like numbers right there to start his season. If you're Jay, obviously he's probably not going to get voted in, probably not eligible. I guess you can write him in, so he probably won't get voted on to the starting spot. But he has a good chance if he can get to 12 plate appearances, and he keeps up hitting in that 700 range. Would you pick him on your bench over Emmer Bach?
I personally wouldn't. I would stick with MLR Bach. I mean, just again, same reason that I went with the 3 pitchers I went with is the same reason I would stick with MLR Bach. It's just the length that he's been able to keep it up. I mean, granted, what Moore is doing is very impressive, and I think if he can keep it up, he's going to be one of the great ones in the game. But I think you have to go with the longevity and somebody that's an established player there.
All right. Thank you, Jameson. Madis, got any quick questions for Jameson before we move forward?
No, I agree with pretty much all of his picks. There's nothing really that I'd change. I would have put Hildebrandt in, but that's just me.
Alrighty. Thank you, gentlemen, for working so hard to make your predictions. Very nice work from the both of you. I'm sure all of our listeners really enjoyed hearing y'all's input on what y'all think the All-Star game will produce. So let's dive in here as we move towards Session 8. We're going to preview every single game that's going to go down in Session 8. We've got lineups, and we're going to give predictions as well. So let's start out with Madis, with your team, your Blue Jays, hitting on the road to Target Field to take on the Minnesota Twins. Garen and Doc will be doing the umping for that game as the Batten Corbett crew. Potentially an ALCS preview we've got going on here. We've got 2 very top teams, Toronto 5-2, Minnesota 5-2. Potentially, we could be looking at an American League Championship Series preview in this matchup. We got a great pitching matchup ahead of us between Gasting and Daniel Collins. And I know, Madis, you had Grim Carp at third base, even though he's an actual catcher. So we may have a battle for the third base AL third base spot here in the All-Star game between Sven Jorgensen and Johnny Hopkins. Let me just before we dive into lineups, Madis, to start with you. Give me your take on this matchup for your team coming into Session 8.
My team, I say, we're pretty well established. We've been around for a while. We haven't really changed much. I've tried to keep the roster pretty much the same. Tried not to make too many big changes. To keep it, what wins. What's been winning has been winning. So I'm happy with the team at the moment.
Jameson, what's your thought for either of these teams going into this game right here?
Not really. We just want to win the paper cup. That's all we've ever wanted to do.
Alrighty. So let's go ahead and dive in and take a look at the lineup that Madis has. Thank you, Madis, for giving this to us. The Toronto lineup for this game here at Target Field against the Minnesota Twins. Ziggy Cedar will lead off in DH. Graham Grams, as Milo selected, probably going to be the starter at second base for the AL All-Star team. He'll hit second. His brother Milo will catch and hit third. Lane Drew, one of the more active players in the league, will hit fourth. Mike Concho, he's been on a tear lately. He'll hit fifth. Thomas Berry inserted in the lineup, plays center field. He'll hit sixth. Sven Jorgensen moving to right field this game, but maybe an all-star candidate? We'll see. He'll hit seventh. Joey McCarty will hit eighth. And Durr Smith will round it out, hitting ninth and playing left field. And Ryan Gasting, Veins, my friends, he'll be on the mound pitching for the Blue Jays. I'll get Madison's take on the Twins. Johnny, let's start, or not Johnny, Jameson. Sorry, I'm getting my names mixed up. Jameson, what player do you like out of this lineup?
I'm sorry, you broke up a little there. The Twins or the Jays here?
The Jays. This lineup, let me just repeat it again. Cedar, Grams, Drew, Honcho, Berry, Jorgensen, McCarty, Smith, and then Gasting on the mound. Who do you like out of that lineup?
I've always been a big fan of both of the Grams. I think both of them are great players. I'm always surprised to see which one ends up coming out on top. I'm also a big fan of Gasting on the mound. I never really got a chance to interact with him much, but he's you can't deny just the sheer impressiveness of his work.
Alrighty, Madis, give me a sleeper player that nobody's talking about to watch in this game for your team.
You cut out there for a sec.
I'm sorry. Okay, I said give me a sleeper player that nobody's really going to talk about to watch in this game.
Durf Smith. He's currently hitting 9th in our lineup. He's one of my newer acquisitions. I've kept him pretty well sheltered in eco. I've kind of tried to keep him down there so not everyone sees him. But I figured now would be one of the perfect times to bring him up. So he's going to be hitting against this Twins lineup where he has a good shot at getting quite a few hits. And one of the good reasons we brought him up was matchups. We feel he can hit pretty well against Daniel Collins. He's faced him before in Eco and in the Futures game, I believe. So, Durf Smith is someone people should keep an eye out on.
Alrighty, thank you, Madis. Let's hop over and look at the Twins lineup now. Thank you, Charlie, for submitting this to us. Leading off for the Twins, Daz referenced, he will be the DH this game, and he'll hit first. Johnny Hopkins coming over to the shortstop this game. Big acquisition for the Twins heading into session 6. He will hit second. Jacob Aneko will move up to third. In the lineup, lefty Lewis will hit fourth. Jack Marnett fifth. C.W. Mitzel will move down to sixth in the lineup. Pete Wheeler back in the MLR lineup after pitching in Eco last session. He'll move to center field and hit seventh. Geraldo McKenzie behind the plate hitting eighth. And Mike Cal will hit ninth. Daniel Collins, of course, will be on the mound. Madis, who do you like out of this lineup?
Well, can I say their pitcher? Because I like Daniel Collins.
Why not?
I like Daniel Collins. He's only gotten 4 innings at the major league level so far, which, well, isn't many. It shows you a good sample size. He's going to be one of the better pitchers out here. He's going to be really hard to hit. I've tried scouting him, but sadly, with the very small body of work I have, I can't scout him that well. I have my other scouts and my head scout scouting him as we speak. So hopefully we can get some hits on him. But Daniel Collins is one of the best rookies in the MLR right now.
Alrighty. Who do you like out of the lineup, Jameson?
I mean, you can't deny Johnny Hopkins. He's always been a great hitter, and I foresee him keeping that up. There's no reason for me to believe that he'll ever, let that down. I also like Lefty Lewis. I've seen him around a lot. I see big things coming up for him, and just like Madis, I think Daniel Collins is going to be making a big impact on this league very soon.
Alrighty, Madis, give me your pick. Who do you think will win this game, the Blue Jays or the Twins?
Well, I can't bet against my own team, so I got to go with the Blue Jays.
All right, good job on you.
It'll be a close game.
All right, Jameson, since you are non-biased in this scenario, who do you believe will win this game between the Blue Jays and Minnesota?
I honestly, I'm going to have to agree because I'm very impressed with what Ryan Gasting does on the mound, and I feel that as long as he keeps that up, they're going to be very tough to beat.
Alrighty, let's hop over now from Minnesota to O.Co Coliseum for this game between the Devil Rays and the Athletics this session. Big story here, offense. These guys both teams have been hitting like no tomorrow, and definitely we will see a ton of run production in this game, especially considering the pitching matchup we have before our eyes. The Devil Rays definitely they're looking to bounce back, which is definitely why we're going to see a ton of runs for them. They're going to be angry. They're going to be ready to fight like no tomorrow. And the A's are on a 3-game winning streak. After starting the season 0-4, they've somehow gone 3-0 in their last 3 games, and they're looking to beat the Devil Rays and go 4 straight now here as we go to Session 8. Gino and Ted of the Dodgers, Gino Scaramucci and Ted James III. As the Don Doyer crew, they will take the umping in this game. Madis, let me start with you. What's your first thoughts heading into this game?
The Devil Rays have a lot to lose, and Oakland has a lot to win.
All right, Jameson, initial
thoughts
from you.
The Devil Rays are going to be trying to bounce back from that thrashing Boston gave them. Well, you gave them, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And Oakland is going to try to keep their really good roll going.
Alrighty, we do not have the A's lineup at the moment, but from all reports, I believe Sal Shark will get a rest here after pitching a gem last game, as we discussed earlier. Jay Schwizzle, who had his first career start in the win in Session 6, he will get the start for the A's. That is all we know from the A's lineup as of this moment. But we do have the Tampa Bay lineup here for you. Lawrence Wiseman, as we discussed earlier, having to step up into a larger role for the Devil Rays. He will lead off. Robin Reynolds will at second. Baseball face in that lineup again. Campaigning for the All-Star game here. He may be on the outside looking in for a starting spot. He will hit third. Red Trapper back in Tampa Bay after having a nice game in Eco with a home run. He will hit fourth. Dominus Nominus also returning to the lineup, hitting fifth. Dog Man, the acquisition from the Astros, will hit sixth. Storm Johnson, a new signee, will hit seventh. Babatunde Oladudun, also another new signee, will hit eighth. And Conor McGregor, after traveling around the league, getting released and getting signed and getting released again, he ends up back with the Devil Rays in the lineup today for the first time since getting cut back in Session 3. He will play right field and bat ninth. And, of course, Willoughby Hoos, the new star in this Devil Rays rotation, he will be the pitcher on the mound. Okay, Madis, let me start with you. Who do you like out of this Devil Rays lineup?
Well, I got to say baseballing with baseball face. Even though I didn't give him an all-star tap, I think he's still an awesome player.
All right, Jameson.
Tampa Bay's lineup has always been pretty impressive to me. I think the addition of Dogman is only going to help them. Baseball face, always a quality guy. Always know you're going to get a good performance out of him. And I'm really, really excited to see what Willoughby Hoos does out in Tampa Bay for the next starts.
All right, Madis, give me your pick. Are you picking the Devil Rays or the A's to win this one out in Oakland?
I'm picking the A's. They're going to keep rolling, and the Devil Rays will keep falling.
Jameson, how about you?
I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to go the opposite direction there. I'm going to say that A's can get back on their horse.
All right, let's head back down to Houston now, as they're going to be hosting the Seattle Mariners in this one. New look Astros that we discussed earlier. 5 new players added to that team. Peckershine, Saltalamacchia, Ariana, Tenson, a couple other signees. They've got a lot of new faces here in Houston for that team, and a lot of chemistry is going to have to be built here against the hard-hitting Mariners and their hard-hitting offense that can be inconsistent. The Houston Astros are going to be hoping that they get the cold Mariners this week and not the group that put on 7 runs against the Devil Rays back in Session 6 in the first inning. And then Con Copper, he's expected to get the start for Houston. We don't have lineups for either team, but he had 11 strikeouts his last time out, and he's looking for some pretty good stats again this game, considering the fact that he's pretty much now their number 1 pitcher. So Con Copper looking to become the leader in the rotation for the Astros. Madis, let me get your initial thoughts on this one.
I think if the Mariners offense keeps rolling, they should be able to beat an Astros team that is not used to playing together.
Jameson?
I think that the Astros are going to, I think under their leadership, they'll be able to come together pretty quickly here. I agree that the Seattle team has a pretty potent lineup, but I think that Con Copper is going to come up big here. I think he's going to make a statement and show that he's going to take control of that rotation. And I think they're pretty high on ball 4 that just came up. So I think that he's also going to factor into their game plan pretty heavily.
All right. Again, we do not have lineups for either team. The projected probables for this game, all signs point to Astros going back to Con Copper, potentially the new leader in that rotation again. 11 strikeouts in his last game, and then Seattle Mariners likely to go with Frankie Sticky Fingers on the mound. Of course, his last start was against the Devil Rays, where they came back on him to the point where Ziff had to come in, and Ziff, of course, allowed the Devil Rays to take the lead, and Mariners lost the game. Obviously, we don't have lineups, so we can't really analyze a whole lot of players. So, Madis, let me just go ahead and get your prediction. Who do you think will win, Seattle or Houston?
I think Seattle should be able to keep going. If their offense keeps up, they'll win it. And I'm still a firm believer you need to have some time to gel. So I feel like Houston needs a couple sessions to gel fully.
All right, Jameson, who are you picking?
Like I said, I'm going with Houston here. I think that even with the new additions, I think that they're going to pull it together and surprise some people here.
All right, thank you both. Now let's head out to Baltimore. The Cleveland Indians will be in town for this one. Of course, the big storyline here is going to be pace of play. Will the Orioles slow down like they do some games, or will they play lightning fast? And potentially, we may have a record if the Orioles can play fast for one of the fastest games in MLR history. Definitely some new players on both sides. The Indians, of course, having to rebuild with all these retirements they've been going through, adding a lot of free agents. They only have 2 of their opening day players left on the roster now with the retirement of Connor Carter. And of course, we and the Orioles have been adding a few new key pieces in the last couple of days. And we may have 2 really key infielders who would definitely have arguments for the All-Star game. Stig Bond for Cleveland and Nicky Falk for the Baltimore Orioles. Charlie and Scotty will have the ump duties at Camden Yards. Initial thoughts from you, Madis?
My initial thoughts is the pace of play. While it is Baltimore, it is also Cleveland, and Cleveland has been known to be one of the quickest teams out there. I feel like the new players, Baltimore side, will probably be getting starts, so they should have a very positive impact. And if Nicky Falk can keep going, I believe she has almost all of her team's RBI. It'll be a really interesting matchup, but the Orioles will probably not be able to win due to the fact that they're currently being propelled by one person.
So, Jameson, let me get your thoughts.
I don't think, like Madis, I don't think a pace of play is going to be a problem. I think the ump crew is going to keep things moving at a pretty quick pace. Let's see. I think the new players, like Madis said, are going to make a real big impact. However, I really think that Bond on Cleveland is just going to keep up, his effectiveness and statement that he's just here to stay and that there's not going to be any arguing with his performance.
We just talked about Bond. Let's go ahead and look at Bond and look to see where he sits in this Indians lineup that we have in. Thank you to BB Van Jr. for submitting that to all of us. Indians will lead off with Austin Schwartz in center field. Rohei Bertani will at second and play shortstop. Jim Boeheim, the other opening day starter for the Indians, he's in the lineup hitting third, playing right field. Stig Bond, of course, at third base hitting fourth. Richard Pohl, the recent acquisition from the Phillies, will hit fifth. Joe Runzer, a new signee for the Indians, will hit sixth. Xavier Quinn Jr. behind the plate will hit seventh. Eddie Collins, also a new signee, will play second base and hit eighth. And Casey Nine, who hit the big 3-run home run last game to propel the Indians to a win over Houston, will hit ninth and be the designated hitter. Big Tuna back on the mound for the Indians this game after sitting out last session. Madis, who do you like in the Indians lineup?
Well, Stig Bond would be the easy answer, but I'm going to go with Jim Boeheim. I umped him the one game I umped, and he was pretty fast, and I feel like he can always make a difference. He's hitting in the 3 hole, so he's going to have the ability to drive in some runs if his opening leadoff hitter and second hitter can get on. So I feel like he can make a big impact on this game.
Alrighty then. Jameson, who do you like in the Cleveland lineup?
I like Big Tuna. I like the fact that his stability in that rotation is key. I actually think that we're going to see some big things out of Rohei Bertani. I think he's going to surprise some people and pop up here and start to make a little back-to-back connection with him and Stig Bond.
All right, Madis, who are you picking to win this game?
I'm going to pick the Indians to win this game. I feel like they're going to be a close game, but the Indians are going to just edge it a little bit.
All right, who are you picking?
I'm with you on that. I think the Indians take this one pretty handily.
Alrighty then, let's head out to Comerica Park. The Tigers will be hosting the Red Hot Red Sox in this game. Red Sox winning 3 straight since Jordan Peppers was named general manager of the team. The big storyline here, though, is that they have a lot of key players heading to Eco this session, including yours truly, and a few other key players will not be in that lineup. They will be going with a lot of the reserves, a lot of the depth pieces, trying to get people playing time. Is it a smart move by Peppers? We will see. Tigers pitching has been definitely a big question mark for that team, and they have a lot of question marks, to say the least, with Masters and Woolridge and Reampe and whoever else they'll be pulling out of their hat this game. It'll be interesting to see if the rotation the Tigers roll with and the pen will be able to stay together and maybe topple the Red Sox. Cash and Jerzone, rookie team working together under the Kellen Heller name. They will be umping this one out at Comerica Park. Immediate thoughts from you, Madis?
The red hot Red Sox might be red hot, but most of their key players are going to be in eco. So it's not going to be the same red hot Red Sox we've been seeing this whole time.
Jameson?
And you see, I think that's just going to give some of the younger guys or some of the guys who had less playing time an opportunity to show that they can make impacts. And that's what you need in this league to be, to have success. And I think that if they can pull that off, the Red Sox are really going to show that they're somebody to be reckoned with.
All right, let's take a look at that Red Sox lineup. Thank you, Jordan Peppers, for submitting this. Larry Longshot will lead things off for the Red Sox. Chuck McCluster will hit second. He had a great game going 3 for 3 against the Devil Rays. Gregory Polinko moved into the 3-hole. He went 1 for 3 and got a nice RBI. Jay Imby, returning from Eco, will hit 4th. T.R. Guthrie back in the lineup will hit 5th. Ravitsu Suramubuto, surprise last game, hits a home run and really shows his colors. He really definitely was a key acquisition by Peppers. He'll hit 6th and move to 3rd base. Michael Voorhees also back from Eco, where he had a pretty nice game last session. He'll hit 7th. Ben Beazle was also in Eco. He'll play 8th. At 8th, and Oscar Vegas will move down to the 9-hole and DH this game. Josh Mador pitched 4 shutout innings in his last matchup against the Astros. He will get the start for the Red Sox. Mattis, who do you like out of this? Definitely a share the wealth lineup for the Red Sox. Who do you like?
I like Michael Voorhees. He's hitting a little bit low in the 7-hole, which I find kind of interesting. I know him pretty well from when he was on the Blue Jays. I know he works hard. He always gets his at-bats in super quickly. I feel like he will be able to make a big contribution to a Boston lineup that doesn't have as many veterans as it normally does.
Jameson.
I'm with you on that. I've always been a real big fan of Voorhees, but I think that Sturmbato is going to really continue to show that he's been worth the pickup.
Alrighty, Mattis, who are you picking to win this one? Boston at Detroit. Mattis, you there?
You cut out there, but
sorry. I was going to say, who are you picking to win this one?
I'm going to pick Boston to win this one, sadly, because they're in my division. I mean, so is Detroit, but I'm going to pick Boston to win this one, and I feel like they're going to win it handily, but it's going to not be as hot as they were these last couple of games.
Jameson, do you share the same opinion?
I appreciate the gamesmanship a bit from Detroit holding their roster back, but honestly, I really think that Boston is going to try to be making a statement here, and I think that they're going to roll on with, even though they have some of their key guys in Eco.
Alrighty, 2 picks for Boston. Hopefully, we will pull it through. Let's flip over to the NL now. Let's go to a big game featuring your team, Jameson. You guys are hosting the Philadelphia Phillies. Cardinals. Your Cardinals are on a 5-game winning streak out of nowhere, starting the season 0-2 and winning 5 straight. Heading into this one, hosting the Phillies. A friendly GM rivalry. Jay Bird, the GM of the Phillies, who will be the NL All-Star manager. This week he announced he was picking Jeff Steelflex as his bench coach for the NL All-Star team, so congrats to Steelflex. It'll be a nice GM rivalry between the two future co-GMs of that NL All-Star team. And starters and relievers for both teams seems to be the key factor here. You got some new relievers in the Cardinals bullpen, and Phillies adding some guys as well, with Quinn moving to the bullpen. There's a lot of movement in both positions for both teams that really makes this an interesting pitching matchup, not just on the starter front. Zoom Boehner will get the ump call for this one. Mattis, let me get your opinion here. First thoughts of this Phillies-Cardinals game.
Well, I feel like the Cardinals' win streak can stay alive. And it's going to be a pretty interesting game to see. The Phillies are always a fun team to play against. We haven't played them again this season, but last season we played against them, and it was one of the most fun and enjoyable games the Toronto Blue Jays have had. And it should be a very interesting matchup.
All right, Jameson, give me the outlook on your team heading into this session.
We're riding a pretty big high right now, and honestly, I think that it's well deserved. We got Jim Bob Cooter going back on the mound, and he's been our ace through this whole season. So I have extreme confidence in him. And yeah, we had VR Porn to the back end of our bullpen here. So he's going to be coming out of the bullpen, right-handed strikeout pitcher. We're also bringing Cody Omega, a left-handed neutral batter at second base. So he's going to look to make an impact like he did in the Eco game with his first career at-bat being a home run. So really, I think that we're going to keep rolling here. I think that everything points to us continuing our success.
Jameson, before I flip the page here, let me just ask you this for fun. Have you seen the Phillies lineup yet?
I have not seen the Phillies lineup yet.
All right, so I'm going to get your immediate take as soon as I flip this page right here. Phillies have submitted their lineup. Thank you to Jay for getting this to me earlier today. Charlie Bay Jr. will lead things off and play second base. Fly Spaceman will hit second and play left. Zach Anderson, a new signee for the Phillies recently. He did play last session. He will hit in the 3-hole and bat third and play right field. Willie Dustis returns to the Phillies lineup after having a really bad game in Eco last session. He will catch and hit fourth. Jackson Takegi, he's been a surprise hitter for the Phillies this year. He'll bat fifth. The DH, Ethan Franklin, definitely become a face in this court as of late. He will hit sixth and play first base. Jamison Wells had a very good game in Eco last session, 2 for 3. For the winning Goldies, he'll hit seventh and play third base. Tommy Brown, another recent signee, center fielder, hitting eighth. And Moon Professor returns to the starting lineup, batting ninth and shortstop. Oliver Yu will get the start for the Philadelphia Phillies. Jameson, since this is your first time hearing the lineup as the opponent, immediate thoughts.
Immediate thoughts. When I was doing my research for the All-Star game, I went through everybody in the NL's lineups, or everybody in the NL's rosters pretty thoroughly. And Takagi is a very solid hitter that might come out and surprise some people. Willie Dustis, I expected to be as good as he's advertised, and he is. And I'm also going to be looking out for Anderson here. I know he's new on the team, but I know that he can make a pretty heavy impact very quickly.
All right, Madis, who do you like out of Jay Bird's Philly lineup?
Well, I'm a pitcher's man, so I'm going to go with Oliver Yu. I remember him. I know him decently well. He's fast. He's good, and he's going to try to get these Phillies back on track from their paper cup hangover.
Alrighty, let's look at the Cardinals lineup now. And before I flip the page, I may not have the positions right since they just made a quick lineup change. So, Jameson, I'm sorry, and Jeff, please don't sue me. All right. Looking at the St. Louis lineup now, Steve Sherwin will lead off and bat first. I believe he's playing right field. He's one of the guys that was switched around. I'm not certain if that's correct. 9 fingers, big home run for him last game. He'll bat second and play center. Brent Royal will hit third and play third. Dougal McGougal will be in the cleanup role, playing second base. Cody Omega, one of those new signees that Jameson was talking about, will hit fifth and play shortstop. Fox Dashington back in the lineup behind the plate. He will catch and bat sixth. Stan Mann in the lineup at first base hitting seventh. Puckin Huckingly will bat eighth and play left field. And Sleeve McDykel is scheduled to be the DH hitting ninth. Jim Bob Cooter, as we've talked about today so far, will be the starting pitcher for the Cardinals. Madis, let me get your take on this lineup first. Who's a guy that you like out of this Cardinals lineup?
I say Logan 9 Fingers. He did really well last game, and if he can keep that up, I feel like the Cardinals can keep on winning.
Okay, first of all, Jameson, before I ask you who you like, did I get the positions correct?
Yeah, it looks like we're about correct. We had a couple of shuffles because we had a late scratch, but yeah, everything looks to be about right.
Okay. Okay, tell me, instead of giving me who you like, tell me a sleeper pick, since you know this lineup top to bottom pretty well. Who are we not looking at that we really should be looking at in this game between the Phillies and the Cardinals on this Cardinals lineup?
I think people need to be paying attention to Fox Dashington. You know, he's perpetually on the leaderboard for, difference in pitch, swing and pitch. He's incredible. I think people need to be paying a lot more attention to Fox Dashington. And obviously Nine Fingers has been the forgotten guy, but I think that's going to change pretty quickly. And I really think that Royal's kind of been under the radar too. But if you're going to ask me for one guy, I'm going to go Dashington.
Alrighty, let's get some final predictions there. Obviously, Jameson, you're probably going to pick your Cardinals, correct?
Can't go against our guys, man.
Alrighty, Madis, who do you think will win the game between the Cardinals and the Phillies?
I gotta go with the St. Louis Cardinals, same as James.
Alrighty. Okay, so before I flip to this next slide, as an ump so far, I've only umped 2 games, 1 Eco and 1 MLR. My Eco game lasted 4 days and 8 hours, fastest Eco game ever. My game in the MLR round 2 of Texas and Oakland lasted 4 days and 11 hours. Thanks for Pops for helping make that possible. But now, I will put my pace of play statistics to the test as I attempt to be the umpire of Pittsburgh and LA. Yes, I'm going to try to rush the Dodgers. I know it seems impossible, but I'm going to try to do it. Pittsburgh heads out to LA for this fun matchup. LA trying to rebound from their beatdown, surprisingly out of nowhere, at home by the Colorado Rockies, who have been ice cold all year. They go into LA and beat the Dodgers to a pulp. Pittsburgh coming in here has some depth issues come to light. Definitely having some rotation issues now that Dick Schott has retired. We definitely have a few All-Star Game positions battles. Emmer Bach, looking to potentially fight Forehead Jones for that first base spot. And Scotty Smalls out there in center looking to solidify himself as the starting center fielder. And, of course, I will be umpiring this game. Madis, let me get your instant take here of Pittsburgh at Los Angeles.
Okay, well, I got to say that the Dodgers aren't only looking to rebound, but they need to rebound. They're been struggling. They have Scotty Smalls, who's been hitting amazingly, but besides that, name me a few guys on their lineup, and they're not hitting that well. And Pittsburgh has been struggling with some depth issues, but I feel like that will sort itself out.
Jameson, what's your instant take?
Well, like you said, the Dodgers need to bounce back here. Scotty Smalls has been pretty solid for them, but they also have Valentino Sanchez, Ted James III, and Clipper Charge, who can also break games open if they really have to. On the Pirates side, I think the leadership from Vader and Gare is gonna bring them through any kind of turmoil they have with the retirement. And honestly, I think that their lineup is strong enough to recover very quickly.
Alrighty, let's take a look now at this Pirates starting lineup. Jimmy Johns will move into the leadoff spot, playing center field. Joey Bagpipes will hit second as a DH. Gare Doctor will catch him at third, potential All-Star candidate. Maybe Lance Lemix definitely looks like a lock for the All-Star game, hitting fourth, playing shortstop. Westenberg, another sleeper pick for the All-Star game, hitting over 600, will bat fifth and play right field. Emmer Bach hitting sixth, playing first base, as we discussed. Fighting Forehead Jones hard tooth and nail for that first base starting spot. Moose McCracken, a relatively new player, will hit seventh and play third base. Buckeye Logan II will play second and bat eighth. And Ross Jackson will make his MLR debut, although he's been playing in Eco the last couple of sessions. This is his debut in Major League Red Ball for the Pirates. Playing left field, batting ninth. And another debut will be on the mound. Callius Grayoke will get the start for the Pittsburgh Pirates in this one. Madis, who do you like in the Pirates lineup?
I like Callius Grayoke. I persuaded him. I pursued him. Unfortunately, he didn't sign with me, but I'm excited to see how he does in his MLR debut.
Jameson, how about you? Who do you like?
I mentioned Gare and Bach in my All-Star picks, but I'm going to have to go with Lumix here. He's just been unconscious at the plate. Getting him out is an experience. 26 is going to continue being a game breaker, I think, and he's just going to glide his way into the All-Star game.
All right, now let's take a look at the Dodgers starting lineup. Thank you to Gino for getting this to me. Leading off, Scotty Smalls. Again, almost a virtual lock for center field, but never say never. Scotty Smalls will lead off and play center. Maxo Caluo will catch him at second. Ted James III, a little bit of an underrated guy at shortstop, even though he's kind of making himself more of a discord presence day in and day out. Shortstop, batting third, Valentino Sanchez, another all-star guy, potentially playing third base, batting fourth. Billy Cutgrass will bat fifth and play left field. Clipper Charge, second baseman, hitting sixth. Ricky Tucker will hit seventh and play first. Richard Furr will play right field and bat eighth. And Ike Imtiaz, back in the lineup for the Dodgers, will bat ninth and be the designated hitter. Brady McElroy will get the start for the Dodgers. Who do you like out of this lineup, Madis?
I gotta say, Ted James III. He seems like he can break out and be super fast, super active, and seems like he can hit well whenever he wants to.
How about you, Jameson?
I'm going to have to go with Valentino Sanchez. He was the far and away easiest pick for me when it came to the All-Star game, and I think he's just on fire, and he's just going to continue.
All right, as we close discussion on this, Madis, who are you taking to win this one? LA or Pittsburgh?
I gotta say, Pittsburgh's gonna pull it out. Depth isn't gonna be a problem. They're just gonna steamroll them with their talent, and it'll be interesting. Though it'll be close, but Pittsburgh's gonna win it.
All right, Jameson, who are you taking to win this one? LA or Pittsburgh?
Honestly, I think this is going to be surprised. I think it might be a high-scoring game, and I think in the end it's going to favor Pittsburgh. I think their lineup's just going to continue to roll.
All right, our next game on tap to discuss. Potentially, definitely we have some other ones in contention, but for right now, this may be the pitching matchup of the year so far this year. Dan Jerzone versus Hudson Hildebrandt at Nationals Park, Milwaukee at Washington. Again, Jerzone and Hildebrandt fighting for all-star spots tooth and nail. This is going to be one of the best pitching matchups we have seen all year. Are the Nats back? You know, they've won 2 games now in a row, 2-4 in the year after starting the year fairly cold. Are they back? Are they primed and ready to start winning games here? And are the Brewers sliding? They've lost 2 straight now in a not so very good fashion. Are they falling off a bit, and do they need to recover? Fico and Preller will get the ump duties here, and Preller obviously co-umping in his ump debut. Immediate thoughts from you, Madis, on Milwaukee at Washington?
My immediate thoughts would be this is going to be another one of those all-star game matchups, and Hildebrandt, as Jameis, he didn't have him in, but if Hildebrandt can outduel Jerzone here, I feel like he should be a lock for the all-star. The Nats are certainly back. We saw them all of season 1. They steamrolled everybody. Nobody could stop them. And if that's back, well, we have something to be worried about.
Alrighty, Jameson, let me get your instant thoughts here.
I think that we're just like I thought that the last game was going to be a bit of a high-scoring affair. I think this one you might want to watch for the pitching. I think that Dan Jerzone is going to bounce back from his start against the Dodgers, and I think Hildebrandt is going to continue to make a case for himself. But I don't think that the Brewers are going to continue their slide. I think that the Brewers are going to bounce back a bit here. In addition to having Jerzone, they have a lot of talent on this team between Scottish Twiggy and Spaghetti Hitchens and Chocolate Smegma. They have a lot of talent in their lineup that I think they're going to use to just get themselves right back into the winning column.
One brief note as we look at the Milwaukee lineup here. Choc Smegma out of the lineup for the Brewers. Let's run through it. Casey Jones will be out in left field leading off for the Brewers. Scottish Twiggy, as we talked about, hitting second. He'll play second base. James Mesa will play third and hit third. James Earl Pones, one of the more underrated players on the Brewers roster. He will play right field and bat fourth. I Am Organic, one of the acquisitions in that Monster Mash Arizona trade. He will hit fifth and play first. Jingo Bajingo, recently acquired from the Houston Astros, will bat sixth and play shortstop. Pip Squires, back up for Miko, will bat seventh and play center field. Bohorse Jackman will be your DH, hitting eighth, and Spaghetti Hitchens will move to the bottom of the lineup, catching and batting ninth. And of course, Dan Jerzone will be your starting pitcher. Madis, who do you like out of the Brewers lineup? Madis, you there?
Hello? Yeah, now I'm here now.
Sorry.
Seems
Okay,
to be cutting out a little bit.
Who do you like out of the Brewers lineup?
I gotta say, I'm a big fan of Bo Horse Jackman. I think with him hitting that low, it's a bit interesting, but I feel like when he's hitting down there, you have offense from both ends of your lineup, from the top and the beginning.
How about you, Mr. Jameson Poe?
I'm going to go with Scottish Twiggy. He's batting .533 on the year, 1 double, 1 homer, and 4 RBIs, and 800 slugging percentage. I think he's going to continue his hot hitting ways, and I think he's going to maybe have a breakout game here.
Alrighty, let's cut over and look at the Washington Nationals lineup. Thank you to McFrizzle for getting this into me. Leading off will be shortstop Steve Hofbardozzi Jr. Batting second will be the second baseman Humphrey Carter. Rusty LaRue will hit third and play first base. Osmosis Jones back in the lineup. The DH will hit fourth. Henrik Omega, as we talked about earlier, maybe a DH or a third base candidate for the NL, who knows. He'll play third base and hit fifth. Kolko V. Knight catching and hitting sixth. Vince Pelling back in the lineup playing right field and hitting seventh for the Nationals. Archer Moran will once again play left field and hit eighth. And Chad Barrett back in the lineup playing center field, batting ninth. Hudson Hildebrand, of course, will get the start for Washington. Madis, who do you like out of the Nationals lineup?
Well, I gotta say, Hudson Hildebrand. He is one of the best pitchers in the game for a reason, and he's going to stay there. I feel like he's going to have an elite performance against elite competition in danger zone, and it is going to make it's going to be a game for the ages.
All right, Mr. Jameson Poe, who are you selecting as the guy to watch for Washington?
Henrik Omega would be the easy choice here. I'm going to go with Steve Hofbardozzi Jr. I think that he is going to set some tables and make it a little tough on danger zone.
Alrighty, Madis, who are you picking to win this one, Milwaukee or Washington?
I got to pick Washington. There's no way I bet against Washington, especially when they're winning. And, well, it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a pitching duel. It might be 1-0. It might be 2-1. Might be 2-0. It's going to be Washington who takes it.
Alrighty, how about you, Jameson? Are you going to pick Milwaukee or Washington in this one?
I'm going to go with Milwaukee. I think it'll be a pitcher's duel, and I think that Jerzone's experience is going to carry them through.
Alrighty, let's do a couple more games here. Rockies and Giants. We don't have the Rockies lineup on hand, but we will talk about the Giants in a second here. Rockies have been hard hitting. Out of nowhere, 12 runs this past session. Definitely power hitting that we normally get out of Denver, Colorado, and they're going to be taking that on the road to San Francisco to see if they can take down the Giants. As Andrew Peters, he was going to try and push for the ASG in this game, but he is no longer the starter. Again, Matt Habepetti will get the start for the San Francisco Giants. And Giants' depth has proven itself to be a little bit of an issue as they're shorting up on some players. They're making a few moves and acquisitions to put themselves in a better position. But is the depth going to be an issue? Pops and Meerkat will do the umping duties here. Madis, what are your immediate thoughts on Colorado at San Francisco?
I think Colorado's offensive explosion is what it should be called, but it's not going to happen more than once. They had 15 runs before this game, or last game, for a reason. It was, I'm not going to say stroke of luck, but it was a good game. They were hitting well that game. I'm not sure it's going to continue. And Giants' depth, well, it might be a problem as long as they're pitching decently enough to hold Colorado's bat that they should be fine.
Jameson, what say you on this topic?
I say that this might be a game to watch this session. I think that this could be a very interesting back and forth between these two teams. I agree with Madis. I don't think that the Rockies are going to be throwing up 12 again, but I don't think that their offense is something to be slept on. As for the Giants, with Pierce pushing for the All-Star game, he may not have the ERA of a Jerzone or a Vader, but his whip is still just a hair over 1, and that's impressive enough. And really, the Giants have a lot of options in their roster that could have been in contention for the All-Star game. So I think that this might be a sleeper game for people to keep an eye on.
All right. Again, we do not have the Rockies lineup for you, but we do know at this time that Hank Murphy will be getting the start for the Colorado Rockies against the Giants. So let's take a look at the Giants lineup while we have it. Thank you to Jonathan Park for getting this over to me. Quentin Kimbrell will lead things off. Maybe an all-star candidate. Who knows with the NL outfield at this time. He will lead off and play center field. Mike Oxlittle will bat second and play left field. Menu Leo hitting third, playing second base. Hunter Tuzero playing first base this game. Of course, recently acquired from Philadelphia and starting to heat up a bit out in the Bay Area. He will bat fourth and play first base. Cambodia, recently acquired from Philadelphia, will bat fifth and play the DH. Pekov Andropov, as Jameson discussed, may be an all-star candidate. He will catch him at sixth. Alfred Bain, recently acquired from Cleveland, will bat seventh and play right field. Andrew Sourdough will hit eighth and play shortstop. And a name I continually will not utter and I will not hear, you know who it is. They will play third and hit ninth. And, of course, M. Yorks and Matt Havapetty will be your starting pitcher. We may or may not see Peters in relief here today for the Giants. Madis, who do you like in the San Francisco lineup?
Who I really want to pay attention to in this game is Cambodia, which is one of a good name. And during season one, he was known for one thing and one thing mainly, hitting zero difference home runs. And stuff like that can change a game. So I'm going to be very interested to watch him.
How about you, Jameson? Who do you like out of the Giants?
I'm going to say Andrew Sourdough, batting 400 out of the 8-hole there with 7 RBIs on the year. I think that he's going to be sneaky down there at that bottom of that lineup and maybe cause some damage.
All right, Madis, who are you picking to win? Colorado at San Francisco.
I got to say San Francisco is going to win it. I don't feel like Colorado can up the offense they showed last game, and San Fran's going to take it.
Alrighty, how about you, Jameson?
Seconded, I go with the Giants in this one. I think that they're going to be opening some eyes for this game.
Both guys there will take San Francisco, and hopefully, as they predict, they may move to 6-2 and take over the NL West. Another major NL West matchup: San Diego at Arizona. This is a matchup where both teams need to win. Both teams have had the greatest records of all time this year. They both really need a win to get things heated up. The Dads finally have some depth. They have 20 players on that roster, really have a lot of pitching, a lot of depth in the infield as well. They have options for the first time in quite a while out in San Diego. And the Arizona Diamondbacks pitching staff, of course, has been questionable as of late. Of course, they made some acquisitions, adding Stiefel, and they just got rid of Yeager. Who knows what's going to be the deal with the pitching staff in this game with Einhorn getting the start. Johnny Hopkins will have the ump duties. What is your immediate thoughts of this one, Madis?
My immediate thoughts is the fact that Einhorn should be able to shut down this roster. The Dads roster has been okay. They might have gotten a lot more depth, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to suddenly be awesome.
How about you, Jameson? Now, I agree that the Padres lineup hasn't really, hit up to their potential. I think there are some guys on there that can make some noise. You have Dong Huge Manchild coming in, who really may end up being a game breaker. And you also have Forehead Jones, who's an all-star contender. But I think that Einhorn might actually be able to shut them down as well.
Alrighty, let's take a look at the Padres starting lineup. Thanks to AJ Preller for getting this into us. Caleb Athan, a recent signee, Preller decided to give him a little present by letting him play first and hit leadoff in this game. Leaster Executioner will bat second and be the catcher. Cannonball Dickerson, back from his balloon incident out in India, he'll hit third and play third. Seth Hansen will bat fourth and play second base. Rambo McFly field hitting fifth. Forehead Jones down in the sixth hole in this game. He'll play DH. Again, looking for more home runs and potentially the starting first base spot in the All-Star game. Manchild will bat seventh to play shortstop. Ken Griffey the third. playing center field, batting 8th, and Rory Nippon-Steer will play right field, hitting 9th. Kyle Grimes Jr. will once again be the starter in this one. Who do you like out of this lineup, Madis?
I really like Rory Nippon-Steer. He's hitting the bottom of the lineup, but I feel like from the bottom he can make as much of a difference as anybody else can throughout the lineup.
How about you, Jameson?
I'm going to go with Rambo McFly over there in the 5 spot. He's got a 308 average on the year, and I think that he's going to cause some chaos there in that middle of that lineup.
Alrighty, let's take a look at the Diamondbacks roster now, or lineup, excuse me. Thank you to Doc for getting this one into me. Garen Smudge will play catcher and lead off for the Diamondbacks. Moving into the 1 hole, Drexler will move up to the 2 hole and play center field. Assassin Pando will play left field and hit third. Will Power will play shortstop and bat 4th. Charles Moore, again, we talked about him. Can he get the plate appearances he needs to maybe contend for an all-star spot? Is it too little too late for Moore? He will bat 5th and play first base as he tries to prove the haters wrong. Right field, Matty Lynn will bat 6th. AZ Chapman back in the lineup playing DH and hitting 7th. Dominic Bielbaum will be at 3rd, hitting 8th. And Sarzar, back up for Miko, batting 9th and playing shortstop. And again, as we discussed, Einhorn will be on the mound for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Mattis, who do you like out of the Diamondbacks lineup?
I personally love how the Diamondbacks, it's not just one person, it's everybody, but I've got to say Garen Smudge is kind of a sleeper for me. He has 4 hits, he's hitting 250, so he's not your typical leadoff, but I feel like he can, if he breaks out, if he starts hitting well, it's going to be awesome to watch.
How about you, Jameson?
And I'm going to say Will Power is going to be one of the guys I think you should watch here. He's got batting cleanup this game, and I think he's going to be impactful. And I think that people might have been sleepy on Einhorn. I think that he's going to start returning to form and making some people take notice.
All right, Mattis, who are you going to pick this one to win, San Diego or Arizona?
I got to give it to Arizona just off the fact that I think Einhorn will be able to limit San Diego to 1, 2, maybe 3 runs. I feel like San Diego's depth, while it is an improvement, it's not going to be the biggest step forward that they need. So I've got to give it to Arizona.
How about you, Jameson?
I'm going to agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that the pitching of Arizona is going to be able to hold the Dads down enough that their offense is going to just take over.
Alrighty, we have one more game to discuss here, and that's our interleague matchup this session, Rangers at Expos. Texas has unfortunately had quite some woes, of course, losing a lot of depth. No, they no longer have a second pitcher. Everything will be on 3-finger this game, and maybe from here on out until they can find some depth. Speaking of second pitcher issues, how about the Expos? They've signed 3 guys lately, and 2 of them have left. Of course, they got Moon to back up Tiberius the first, and he auto-walks in his first pitch and gets released. Then they go with Abella, who has his family emergency, and he can no longer play. So now they'll try with Bartolo Colon. Maybe Colon can figure things out as the second pitcher for Montreal. Who knows? And 2 very underrated GMs we've seen at this point, Rabbi Chase and John Chena, don't really get the whole respect that they deserve, as we talked about in Fireside Chat, but maybe can prove themselves with a big victory here against each other. Instant thoughts from you, Mattis, on Rangers at Expos.
I think the Expos pitching should be interesting to watch, and I think the Rangers just need to forget everything that happened last game or the last 2 games and just go forward.
How about you, Jameson?
I think, like I said earlier, I think Cologne is going to make a big impact there on Montreal. They're a quiet team. They have they have a pretty solid lineup. They just need to, keep moving forward, and they're going to be right there with us, I think, for the rest of the year up in the NL East. As far as Texas goes, I think, like Matt said, they just need to be looking forward. And what happened is kind of rough, and especially so, dealing with a loss there. But I think that they have enough guts that they can pull through this, especially with Barney Summers and Morello there. I think that they can make good going forward.
Alrighty, let's dive in and take a look at the Texas Rangers lineup. Thank you to Rabbi for getting this over to me. They're going to roll up the same exact lineup they rolled up against Texas. Jamarcus Speed will lead off and play second base. Dixie Recht will bat second and play center field. Joe Trundle, he's been brought up in some discussions. This may be a sleeper candidate to make the bench for this AL All-Star team. Who knows? He will hit third and play right field. Barney Summers will bat fourth and play catcher. Definitely pretty much a lock to make the team. Now the question is, will he start over Carp? Who knows? G.H. Morello will bat fifth once again as a DH. Booker Schultz will play third base and hit sixth. Spike McBride will play left field and bat seventh. Duke McCracken hitting eighth, playing first base. And Ross Fire will round out the lineup, playing shortstop. Again, Tuberone and Three Finger getting the start. Madis, who do you like out of the Rangers lineup?
I like G.H. Morello. He seems to have really turned it around since he first came to Texas. And I feel like if he can start to hit well and better than he was earlier, he'll, even in the 5 spot, he'll be able to make a big contribution to Texas.
Morello, of course, was 0 for 2 with a walk last session, the first batter to get on base against South Shark against the Oakland A's. Jameson, who do you like out of this lineup?
Personally, I think that obviously you got to keep an eye on Barney Summers. He can completely wreck a game all on his own. But I'm with Matt. I think Morello is going to come up big one of these games, and he's going to really show people what he's made of.
All right, now let's slip over and take a look at what John Chena has written up for his Montreal Expos. Thank you, John, for getting this over to me. Trey Rangers will hit leadoff and play shortstop. We talked about him earlier as potential All-Star candidate. Zachary Benz will bat second and play second base. King Fielder will hit third and play first. Nate Lewis batting fourth and catching. Jake Blee will play center field and bat fifth. Phil Coulson batting sixth and playing third base. Patty O'Sullivan, recently signed to the Montreal lineup, will bat seventh and played the designated hitter position. Mike T. Thumb batting eighth and being the right fielder. And Matt Verdon got arrested on the field last game in a series of odd events. He will be back in the lineup, fresh off his charges, batting ninth, playing left field. And Cal Tiberius Jr. back on the mound for the Montreal Expos once again. Mattis, who do you like out of this lineup?
I gotta go with the pitcher. I'm always a pitcher's guy. I feel like if they can keep it to 1, maybe 2 runs against Texas, who had pretty much the same thing happen to them in Oakland. They didn't even get a run or 2, I think. I think it was just a couple hits. So if they can if Montreal can do to Texas what Oakland did to them, I feel like Cal Tiberius is the guy to do it. And if he does it, then I really like Montreal.
All right. What say you, Jameson?
I have always been a very big fan of King Fielder. I think that he has been a rock in that lineup, and he will continue to be because I think he's got that ability. I'm also a big fan of Mike Thom there at the 8th hole. I think that he might be underrated. I think he's got some talent down there, and I think people are sleeping on him a bit.
All right, our final picks of the day. Mattis, take it away. Who do you think will win, Montreal or Texas?
Gotta be Montreal. They're a 5-2 team for a reason. They can beat Texas. They can play well as long as Texas is not getting hits, not doing so well. I feel like Montreal is going to take it by a score of about 3-1, 3-0, something like that.
All righty. Jameson, who do you believe will be winning this one?
As much as I hate to agree, because they're in our division and fighting with us, I'm going to have to go with Montreal also. I think that they're just too talented to not put up some runs here. And I think that Texas, even though they're going to be moving forward, might still be a little bit of a hangover there.
One quick correction before we move on to our next segment. I have been PM'd and notified multiple times. His name is Kent Griffey, not Ken Griffey. Sorry, that is the player for the Padres. Kent Griffey. My apologies. All right, let's dig into some fan mail. We had a lot of fans submit some questions, so let's answer some of them on air right now, and I'll see what you guys think about these. George Ewell from the St. Louis Cardinals submits, outside of the 5-2 teams, who do you feel is the best shot at winning the Paper Cup? Mattis, I'll start with you. I'll repeat the question. Outside of the 5-2 teams, who do you feel has the best shot at winning the Paper Cup?
Outside of the 5-2 teams, I'd have to give it to either the Pittsburgh Pirates or the Boston Red Sox. They're both good organizations. They both have a lot of depth. They're both 4-3 teams, so they're almost 5-2. They can have the same record as a 5-2 team. If they win, the 5-2 team loses. They are some of the best teams in the league that aren't 5-2. But between Boston and Pittsburgh, I'd have to give Pittsburgh. I feel like they have proven time and time again that they're a good team. They're a close group. Then they have a good chance of winning the Paper Cup.
All right, Jameson, who do you believe outside of the 5-2 teams?
For me, I got to think that that Milwaukee out of the NL East could be dangerous and could make a run. And out of the AL, I'm actually going to go with Seattle. I think that they can surprise a lot of people with what they've got going on down there. Everything is still very close here, and things can swing in the blink of an eye here. I think that on the back of Jerzone, Milwaukee always has a chance. And I think in Seattle, they can just erupt at any moment and really shoot up that AL West division standings.
I'll tell you guys what, I think Oakland is probably the team that has the best shot at winning the Paper Cup. I think they're on the way back. I think Sal Shark is going to be the cornerstone of that team. I think Kid Notcher is a beast. I think Justin Dingers is the most underrated player in the league. I think Caleb Van Vactor is going to come back and start doing amazing things for Oakland like he did in Season 1. I think Rick Gymnast has assembled a very underrated team out in the Bay Area, and I think Oakland has a very, very good shot at competing with these guys, not just for the AL West, but for winning the Paper Cup. Let's move on to our next question. This one comes from Garrett Doctor. Why did you stop doing the game day updates everybody loves? Next question. Who is the most wholesome player or GM? Asked by Quentin Kimbrell. Let's start with you, Madis. Who do you believe is the most wholesome GM or player?
Can I do two? Can I do wholesome player and wholesome GM? Okay. So for most wholesome player, I'd have to go with Lane Drew. He's on my team, so I do see him a lot. He created the home run derby. He's friendly to everyone. He never gets into arguments. He's super helpful, super supportive of new players. He tries to help free agents. Sometimes he tries to lure them to my team, but that's just part of the niceties. That would be for most wholesome player. And then most wholesome GM, I'd have to say either I'm going to have to go with Charlie Scott. His twins are some of the nicest guys out there. He himself is super chill. Really fun to play games with. So, yeah.
How about you, Jameson? Who is the most wholesome GM or player, or both?
Well, if we're going to go with both, I'm going to agree with Madis on Charlie Scott being the wholesome GM. For the same reasons that he just listed. As far as a player goes, I'm going to go with Spaghetti Hitchens out of Milwaukee. I think he's the most wholesome guy. He's often in that channel on Discord, and I think he's just a generally good guy.
I'm going to answer this question for GM, and I'm going to say Zoom. I actually think Zoom is very wholesome. He's done nothing but nice things to me in my time here in the Discord. I do think Charlie is fairly wholesome, but I think Zoom is probably going to be the most wholesome. As for player, here's a guy that most people don't talk about. How about Mudflap Ricketts? I have never seen Mudflap do anything negative in this league. Mudflap has always been a wholesome, positive guy, and Mudflap, I think you are the most wholesome player in the league. How about that? All right, one more fan mail question. This one comes from new rookie for San Diego, Caleb Athan. He asked, who do you feel is the most underrated team in the MLR? Very tough question. Madis, I'll start with you. Who's the most underrated team in the league?
The most underrated team. Because there's quite a few underrated teams that don't get as much credit as I think they should. But I'm going to go with somebody on the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think they are underrated. They're 2-5. Not many people see very much of them. And right now, kind of like Arizona Diamondbacks are like, they're not going to go anywhere. They're 2-5. They're going to stay at the bottom. But last year, and they have a history of being good. Last year, their offense was good and their pitching was good and they were good. So I feel like they are going to be probably one of the best, one of the least respected teams. They're currently one of the least respected teams. And I feel like they're going to be also one of the most underrated teams out there at the moment.
All right, Jameson, what say you? Who's the most underrated?
Underrated. You know, they're a 3-3 team, but I got to give it to Houston. I think that Houston might be flying under the radar here. They're really still within striking distance, and they have a great roster that can really turn on. And if they do, I think that people got to watch out for them. I think that, a 3-4 team, but I think that they can really make a play here, and I think that people might be sleeping on them.
This is, again, a really tough one, but Caleb, I got to go with your Padres. I think Preller has added a lot of depth, and I understand the concern that depth may not turn out, but they have some huge pieces that are going to be helped. I think Manchild is going to be a scouting beast in San Diego. I think that team's going to come alive offensively here in the next few games. Once they get everything figured out and the chemistry work together, I think this team is really going to come together. I think Forehead is going to cement himself as the best first baseman in the NL. I think there's a lot of pieces here that are going to come together and really form a formidable starting nine. I think Kyle Grimes Jr. is a very, very underrated pitcher. I even was pitching for him for Cy Young near the beginning of the season on runner going. I think there's a lot of great pieces in the San Diego lineup, and I think they are the most underrated team in the MLR. Time for some final thoughts. If you have not seen MLR Tonight before, this is where our two esteemed guests will stand up, and they will have the entire floor to themselves to talk about whatever they would like. They can make a rant, they can ask some questions, they can do whatever they would like. So, Madis, the floor is yours. What would you like to talk about? This is your final thoughts.
Cool. That's a lot of pressure right there, so I'll think of something good right now. Who do you think, can I ask a question just to everyone? Because I have one here. Who do you think the best 5-2 teams are?
Jameson, you want to take this one first?
Well, I mean, I'm partial to the Cardinals, obviously, but I think outside of us, I think the Giants are probably one of the tops there. I think that they have a dangerous lineup, and I think that with Peters at the helm, I think they're going to be tough to knock out of the NL West there.
Well, I am going to be partial to your Cardinals, Jameson. I'm going to say the Cardinals. I said the same thing on Fireside Chat Wednesday night. I'm going to echo that statement again right now. I think winning 5 games straight is always impressive, and I think they deservedly should be number one in the power rankings, no question. Whenever that comes out, pie, please. I think Cardinals are by far the best 5-2 team. I think the one issue they had was pitching depth, and I think they've solved that now by adding Porn into the lineup. I think the numbers offensively may not show it, but I think that just shows how much of a team they truly are. You know, a lot of these teams, we discussed this last week with teams like Toronto and Baltimore, that a lot of these better teams are simply teams, the ones that don't have one guy that stands out above the rest. It's the guys that all have similar numbers and really all pitch in and contribute to a winning effort, and that's what we see out of St. Louis. It's not just one pitcher. It's not just Poe over Cooter. It's not just Cooter over Poe. It's not just Yule or Nine Fingers or Huckingly or any of those guys. It's everybody chipping in to make that team great. So I'd say the Cardinals. Here, Madison, you asked the question. What do you think? Who do you think is the best 5-2 team?
Well, I mean, I can be partial and say Toronto, but I won't, although I do think they're the best, but that's more just because I'm their GM. If I say they weren't the best, my team would probably kill me. But I'm going to say Minnesota just for the thing. I feel like they have a really tight-knit group there. Their GM runs them superbly. He makes sure everyone gets their at-bats. He makes sure all the pitchers gets their innings. He does a really good job about everything. So I'm going to say Minnesota.
All right. Thank you for that final thoughts, Madis. All right, Jameson, you have the floor. You can rant. You can make a PSA. You can ask a question. What do you want to do? The floor is yours, Jameson.
I don't really have any questions. I don't have any grand statements. All I want to say is, and especially in light of what's been going on in terms of any controversy or any the retirements and all that, I think people got to realize that this, at the end of the day, this is a game, and we're here to enjoy ourselves, and that we should, we're all here for the same reasons. So there's no sense in getting riled up. There's no sense in driving each other nuts. We're all here to play a game, have fun, and you know what? Guess some numbers. So not take it so seriously sometimes.
I will go ahead and take a final thoughts here while I have the opportunity, and I will use this to give a happy trails and a long farewell to Dougie and Johnny. I know they have been, you guys will definitely both agree with me, they have been cornerstones of the league from the get since I've been joining. They have been really awesome to me. I'm sure they've been awesome to everybody here. So wherever you may end up, guys, as we discussed earlier, farewell to both of you. I hope you both have long, successful careers, both wherever you may end up in the fictional fake baseball world and in life in general, wherever you may be. So Johnny, Dougie, farewell to both of you. We love you here at Major League Ball. Farewell to both of you. Thank you for an awesome career. All right. That's going to do it for an awesome episode of MLR Tonight. Thank you guys both for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for having me on.
All right, thank you, Jameson. Thank you, Madis. We will be back sometime, hopefully this weekend. We are not certain. We like to get some early coverage in of Session 8. We may be back tomorrow night or Sunday. It just kind of depends on what our schedule here at the MLR Network looks like. Again, thank you both to Madis